get non-disbursements. We don't get that money given to the line ministry that was intended for, Honorable Speaker. It beats me, Honorable Speaker, and I think this is one thing as a parliament we must speak to, so that we ensure that at the end of every financial year, every single coin that was allocated to whatever purpose actually serves the purpose at that end of financial year, courtesy of lack of utilization or underutilization. That is something, Honorable Speaker, as a parliament, if we intend to ensure that the people of Kenya get services, we must deal with it. And this is not only the time, but also the opportunity to be able to deal with it, Honorable Speaker, so that we can be able to sort out these issues and get services to our people, Honorable Speaker. Lastly, Honorable Speaker, you know, I remember in the year 2022, when the President of the Republic of Kenya, His Excellency William Samoei Ruto, came into office, he made a very unpopular decision. A decision to put to an end subsidies, Honorable Speaker. And when that happened, Honorable Speaker, it was very unpopular, but we have a very good result from it, Honorable Speaker, that it was able to stabilize our economic situation in this country, and we were able to see...
Order, Member for Nandi. Honorable Catherine, what's out of order?
I just wanted my colleague and a very good friend of mine, Honorable Cynthia Muge, to notice that when school feeding program for nomadic places...
What is out of order, Honorable Catherine?
She said that it's not working, but it is working. I want to prove to her.
Honorable Catherine, that is point of information.
What?
If I had Honorable Member for Nandi, she said she may not agree with how it is done, but she supports. And she did not say it's not working. So that is not a point of order. Is there anything out of order, Honorable Catherine?
I want just to mention something so that she can be happy, a little happy, even if she's not agreeing.
She looks pretty happy to me.
She was not agreeing. I want her to agree. Actually, NACONEC is a council that is working better before...
Honorable Catherine, that is a point of information. It's
Yes.
a point of debate. You'll be free to put it in your debate. Honorable Member for Nandi, kindly conclude.
Yeah, thank you, Honorable Speaker. And of course, you know, issues of food is in the heart of every woman and mother, so that I understand, Honorable Speaker. And just lastly, Honorable Speaker, I must say that the finance bill has brought us here. And we have all realized that it cuts to the front and to the back. That those who are there and those who are not there are suffering the same consequences, Honorable Speaker. But it is also good that we are here so that we can be able to live within our means and ensure that whatever we have, we make it count while it lasts, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, thank you for the opportunity to contribute to this particular motion.
Honorable Joseph Oyula, Member for Butula.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker, for giving me this opportunity to also contribute to this important motion. Honorable Speaker, I want to start by congratulating the Budget Committee for work well done. The Budget Committee went through a lot of small areas to ensure that the budget is almost properly brought out. However, Madam Speaker, my concern is mainly on the huge reduction on the capital expenditure against the reduction on the recurrent expenditure. Madam Speaker, development expenditure is the one that should have been given less reduction because it spurs development in the country. It's the area that the youths can get employment. It's the area that the production of a country can be assessed and be determined. Madam Speaker, I would suggest that as the Budget Committee continues with their work, they should put more effort in reducing recurrent expenditure and enhancing the capital expenditure. Capital expenditure is very important for development of the country. Other than that, Madam Speaker, I'm happy that a lot of areas have been properly taken care of. Like in agriculture, we have those coolers which are very useful in some of our areas. The other issue, Madam Speaker, is the consideration for the JSS teachers. There have been a problem in the constituencies, but I think with this provision that has been put in the budget, many of them will be accommodated in the system. Madam Speaker, TVETs, construction of hostels has also been considered. And that is very important because most TVETs do not have hostels. And therefore, you find the students moving around looking for accommodation. I'm sure if this is done and done well, our students will have proper accommodation and will concentrate on their studies. Madam Speaker, I also want to mention the increase in the energy for purchase of transformers. Some of our areas, particularly the area I come from, we do not have adequate power in the county. So these transformers will help those dark areas that we still see in our areas. Madam Speaker, this is a very important budget, even though it came at a bad time because of the rejection of the finance bill, but still we need to take care that the reduction in some of these areas do not contribute to pending bills, because if we increase pending bills, we'll be increasing our borrowing, and that will affect our deficit. So these reductions should be looked at again so that we have adequate funding in some of the projects that were ongoing so that we don't create pending bills which are going to increase our deficit. With those few remarks, Madam Speaker, I wish to support this supplementary budget. Thank you.
Honorable Jackson Kosgei.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. From the onset, I support this motion on the consideration of the first supplementary estimates for the financial year 2024-2025, and I appreciate the chair and the committee for bringing in a mitigative supplementary budget that is going to cushion our expenditure and as we collect the revenues in this country to run the government. I wish to bring to the attention of the House three things. Number one, especially budget cuts is supposed to guide budgeting towards minimizing on non-essential areas and concentrate on very essential areas during this time of austerity measures. And I wish to join other speakers that even when we exercise that discretion of budget cuts, we should be sensitive to important areas that may not be loud, yet it is equally important. Madam Speaker, we have ministries that over time in various regimes in the past have never been considered essential. And that is ministries touching on young people. We have had an experience with our younger people expressing themselves, and it is time that when we consider our budget, we should increase in those areas. The Ministry of Sports, for example, And other ministry is the ministry that is got to do with the preservation of our identity as a nation, and that is dealing with culture. I happen to be a member of the departmental committee, and we witnessed how much budget cuts was done on these ministries. And I think these are ministries that touches on essential areas in the management of our country. And therefore, I would wish to request that the budget committee reconsider some of the areas where the budget cuts has affected those activities that would have accommodated the needs amongst our young people. Number two, Madam Speaker, is a consideration of safety features in risk management in our own premises as Parliament. I wish to again draw the attention of the Budget Committee that whether or not it is available in the PSC, I am one of those who consumes facilities that requires persons with disability to access important exit or entrances into this particular building. And there are two areas in this building. When we have students coming up here into the speaker's gallery, Madam Speaker, the area of entrance and exit is complicated. We would like to have attention by the Budget Committee to add in this supplementary budget, because risk is an issue that can call for attention at any time. The other one is exit route, as discussed yesterday or the day before yesterday, which affected us, who are more dependent on assistive devices. It was totally impossible. Even if my brothers and sisters would have loved to carry us, you wouldn't have saved us, and you would not have saved yourself. So very important is that as a matter of urgency, the Budget Committee should include that as a matter of urgency, that in the ongoing repairs include also the services, whether putting up a lift or building a ramp. Finally, Madam Speaker, I wish to appeal to our children, the Gen Zs. You realize I was in they call it the eye of the storm, or I wish to appeal to them as a father, as a grandparent, and as a leader in this country, that their voices have been heard. Their voices have been heard. And let them listen to us from Parliament. We have listened to them. The ongoing strikes may no longer serve the purpose of passing the message. It will encourage hooliganism, it can encourage deaths, and it can encourage retardation in development and progress of our country. History, Madam Speaker, is awash with witnesses on alternatives that people have changed their governments. Some with good intention have brought down governments to zero, to start again, and by the time they are building their countries, it is about 50 years later, and those who brought down the system will not be there to enjoy what it comes. It is important to appreciate that today in this country, we have gone through a great transformation from post-independent leadership to where we are. We have a very responsive system. We have a constitution that opens room. There was a time, Madam Speaker, that you would not even demonstrate in this country and go home safe. You can do it in Kenya. You can even abuse and insult any leader at your own will. You talk of things that cannot be accepted in a normal society. You can see how much freedom we have. And this is a product of those who came before us and was sensitive in the transformation of government management. I wish to use this opportunity as a person who is consumer of disability assets, that we cannot encourage the country to open up to civil conflict, violence, which will maim, make others cripple, and we are doing all over again the same thing that others have done. Gen Zs, I wish to speak to you. You have the numbers. I am appealing to you. Prepare for the subsequent elections that are coming. Go and register so that during that time, translate your intention into votes that can change the direction of this country to the direction you want. That is the strength we have in this country. I, once again, as I end, Madam Speaker, I am appealing to them that they are our children. And we meant them. We meant well for them. We are us who educated them. We took them to school. We gave them the best. That is why they are able to argue. Can you listen to us for once? Stop the demonstration. With that, I support the motion. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Thank you very much. Member for Kiamba, Honorable John Kawanjiku.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, for giving me this opportunity to contribute to this important debate that support the supplementary estimates for this financial year because of unprecedented occasions that happened within our nation whereby we were not able to see through the enactment of the finance bill, Madam Speaker. But it is good to note and also to let the Kenyans know, wherever they are, that whatever has been happening within our nation is because of supporting and trying to make sure that we support our budget from our own revenue and also trying to gain our own sovereignty. We don't have to depend mostly on debt, mostly on grants, but making sure that we rise to the occasion of supporting our nation in terms of development, in terms of the recurrent expenditure. And we had looked into all those issues because I sit in the budget committee, Madam Speaker, by making sure that we have also been able to prepare the budget. And at the same time, on the other hand, we have prepared means and ways to raise the revenue to support the budget, Madam Speaker. On that note, tough times call for tough measures, Madam Speaker. And we had to look into it and cut quite a number of development budget so that we can be able to sustain ourselves as a country and make sure that what we can live without, we can be able to remove it from the budget, and what we can't live without, we are able to fund it and support, especially on areas that are supporting our people from the bottom of the pyramid, Madam Speaker. Majority of these issues, we had the issue of JSS, whereby we had looked into it because it supports the education sector of our country, whereby majority of our people can only be able to eliminate and to remove, poverty within our homes is only through educating our family members and fellow Kenyans, so that at least they can be able to gain their confidence and gain, certificates to take them to the next level. We were able to support the JSS education teachers by making sure that we have included, no matter how difficult it is to support them, we decided we have to cut the budget on other areas and make sure that we have money to employ the 46,000 JSS teachers so that we can support our CBC our system of education to make sure that we retain as many students in our school as much as we can. We were able also to allocate money for the coffee cherry fund, whereby we had allocated 4 billion, but because of the difficulties of raising the revenue, we deducted 1 billion from the cherry fund, but we remained with about 3 billion shillings to help our coffee farmers to maintain and to support them to continue doing the farming for the coffee. It normally have a lot of impact to our economy, Madam Speaker. Part of it is helping us generate, foreign exchange. The moment we exchange our coffee from other countries, we are able to retain and to gain foreign exchange and make sure that our shillings is stronger against the dollar, and we are able to support what we can import and what we can export, and especially on the level of exporting, of supporting our export, Madam Speaker. On the same note, we are able to retain money for coolers, milk coolers, Madam Speaker, 2 billion shillings. This will also help our farmers who are able to produce milk, so that we can, contain and maintain that milk in a better form, and support the milk, the farmers with milk in cooler, Madam Speaker. On that also note, we are able also to maintain. We had put funds for the farmers for the new KICC, so that every farmer can be able to have what we call minimum guarantee returns, and maintain a 50 shillings sale per litre, so that farmer, when you prepare to farm, when you have your cow, depending on the number of liters that you are able to milk every day, Madam Speaker, we are able to make sure that farmer will be able to manage and to plan his income, because he's guaranteed that this is the amount of money that he's going to be earning, Madam Speaker. And in that way, we are able to support our local farmers to make sure that we support them with the resources. We had seen a very serious gap between the farmer and the broker and the person who is selling the milk at the supermarket, Madam Speaker. 1 liter, the KICC or the other people who are buying this milk, they buy at a very low price, around 30 shillings, Madam Speaker. But when they are selling it, this 1 liter of milk into the supermarket, they are selling it at 100 and or 200, 100 and 120 shillings per liter, Madam Speaker. And with that, we realize that the farmer is not benefiting from the farming and from the work and from a lot of, input he has put to make sure that he's able to produce that 1 liter of milk, Madam Speaker. So therefore, we decided we must put a minimum guarantee returns to secure the farmer and to make sure that he also able to benefit from the amount of money that the new KICC and the KCC are selling to the farmers, to the market, Madam Speaker. On the same note, we have done the school feeding program, whereby it is also very essential, even if there was a lot of politics going on between where the school feeding program is stationed. But we also thought as a committee, we cannot transfer that service to National Disaster Management. We took it back to the education sector, because they have an overview, they have a better program, they have a better things, they have a better... They're able to know how to make sure that they distribute these foods to the people who need them. They have that infrastructure, Madam Speaker. But the moment we transfer this food feeding program to other departments that has no crew, that has no infrastructure in terms of making sure that the food gets to the people at the arid areas, Madam Speaker, we thought it was prudent. We take the money back to Ministry of Education. Then the Ministry of Education can decide what to do with that, how to distribute and to make sure that our students are able to get food, a lunch in their school, Madam Speaker. On this note, Madam Speaker, we must all agree that no matter whatever is happening within our country, we must come back to our senses and support this economy, Madam Speaker. We don't have any other Kenya. We only have one Kenya, Madam Speaker. Whatever is happening outside here, it is very demoralizing. But we need to tell our fellow Kenyans that whatever we are going to do going forward is to make sure that we manage our resources, prudently. When it comes to the issue of wastage, that the government must be able to deal with wastage conclusively. And I support the president on areas that he decided to do away with. We didn't need to have the office of the first lady, the office of the second lady. Those are the things that we can be able to reduce and to reduce in terms of the costing and support the local manufacturers. And this finance bill, Madam Speaker, because there was a lot of misinformation that was going on, the issue of making sure we support the local manufacturer must be key in this government. The issue of making sure that we protect whatever we can be able to do without importing. We must make sure we put the government money there, inject government resources there, help it to grow in terms of those industries and those infrastructures. We make sure that the government is able to support the local manufacturers so that we can protect and cushion our Kenya shillings against the dollar, and we can only be able to import the things that for sure we cannot be able to live with, and there are things that we are not producing as a country, Madam Speaker. Supporting local manufacturer is key. Making sure we deal with corruption precisely, and I have heard the president this afternoon saying that we're going to propose some amendments to the Public Procurement Act, Public Finance Management Act, and all those things, so that at least we can make sure that now we look into nitty-gritties of how the public resources are utilized. The issue of making sure, we even deducted 30 billion shillings that was to go to the counties. And we have said it today, that the Senate must be able to do its oversight role as far as the county funds are concerned. There is a lot of corruption and misuse and wastage that is happening within the counties. But they forget these are money that comes from the public, Madam Speaker. We must make sure that we bring the governors to book. We make sure that, the issue of corruption has been dealt with. Let people within 1 or 2, 3 or 4 months, the key issue of corruption, the matter to be taken to court, and then we can be able to see some actions happening of those people who are misusing public resources, Madam Speaker. We are living at tough times, but we must make sure we protect the few resources that we have, and that's what Kenyans are talking about. That is what Kenyans are saying. The little resources you have, make prudent use of it, and make sure that you deal with corruption, the root cause of corruption, as far as this government is concerned. And therefore, I rise to support the supplementary estimate too, Madam Speaker. Thank you.
Thank you. And now to I don't want to say acting, but the one occupying the seat that belongs to the leader of minority.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, for giving me the opportunity. Madam Speaker, I just want to acknowledge that you have said the one occupying. Gen Zs have already told us to occupy. If they can occupy parliament, why can I not occupy the position of minority leader? And Madam Speaker, this is totally in order, because if you see what the men do in this house, when they have gone outside there, they have negotiated with the president, and you see the men are the ones who are taking the CS positions. And I think we can sit here and watch them, and they come here and they are talking about also taking this position. In my mother tongue, we say it loika or kumingato. Nisha chukua hii imeenda. So let them look for another one. And if they want to negotiate with me, we negotiate when I am seated. And I told you in this house, bad girls, good girls never get the corner office. I'm a bad girl. I've sat here, so I'm looking for the corner office. If one day he has gone that corner office, I'm taking. The very least I can do, if you agree, is to take one very close, but nothing any less than that. But having said that, Madam Speaker, I just want to say I want to thank the Gen Z for the revolution. I know many of us have diverse views about it, but I want to say that as a person who has been in this struggle for many years, there are very interesting things that happened out of it, including bringing us in a unique situation where we are actually doing a supplementary before we have actually implemented the budget. I don't think this has ever happened in the country. But I want to encourage us as members of parliament that sometimes when we have gone through the challenging parts and we feel like we're in a secure place, we forget where we have come from. Let us not forget that for the first time, Gen Zs across, there were Gen Zs who are our children, who are our grandchildren. And Madam Speaker, I raised the alarm on this floor before the 25th. And Madam Speaker, it came to pass. Because we don't listen sometimes. When we are leaders, sometimes we think we have all the answers. We don't. Because we have a generation that are experiencing life differently, and sometimes they're also experiencing the way we did, it's just that we've forgotten. We need to listen to them. Yesterday when I was meeting my cousin who was visiting me from Canada, and the daughter has whatever, she has pierced her nose. So she has a ring on her nose. And I wanted to complain and say, why do you have a ring on your nose? But before I could raise my voice, I was reminded that once upon a time I had one. I'd even forgotten that I had a ring on my nose. I was asking the pastor, I did? Yeah, you did. And Madam Speaker, when I saw all the scenes of the Gen Zs for the first time, I was so thrilled to just sit back and see myself from another perspective. When I was that age, I was on the street, lying on the streets with a police gun hovering over me. Why? Because at that age, even though I do appreciate all the things that they are saying, but at that age, you also think that you can change the world and you must change it now. And for us who are older, we must listen to the idealism of the youth because we need it as a country. And we infuse it with our realism. And that is the only way we can take the country forward. And that is why I am happy that they fostered to bring this supplementary that is speaking to some of the things that we've been saying before. And I've been listening very carefully to some of the things these Gen Zs are saying. And they say very simple things. Like even today, we had opportunity, some of us who are members of parliament, women members, and we were in a function with some of the Gen Zs. And I carried my grandchild along, and she, very young, I didn't think she even can speak before people. And she challenged us, and she was saying, you people are telling us that we have rich children with mobile phones and we don't understand, etc., etc. And she said, so you wanted the poor children to be the ones going there demonstrating about their poverty. I mean, they say in very simple terms, but very poignant. So do we want the poor children to be the one demonstrating about their poverty? If you can unpackage what that means, even if they are privileged. And it takes me back to this budget. That whenever we budget, we don't do a realistic budget. And so this budget, for the first time, is attempting to do a little bit of a realistic budget. The only challenge that I am facing with this budget is because we know that we're actually implementing austerity measures. But unfortunately, whenever we budget, we don't take certain principles into account. The principle of gender equity, the principle of equity, the principle of marginalization and inclusion, you know, the converse inclusion. But Madam Speaker, it's not just that we don't take it during budgeting. We also don't take that into account during budget cuts. So who do we look for? The same way that the men are dishing out these seats to themselves. It's the same way when the budget comes, we start slashing things that have to do with women, that have to do with the children, that have to do with the youth. And I've actually pointed it out to my budget committee. And I'm glad that our committee has listened and has returned some. But we want to encourage you men, please, listen to us. This country is not about you alone. There are other people in this country. There are women in this country. And so whether you are budgeting, whether you are doing cuts, can you look at how it impacts on women, on children, on the youth, on persons with disabilities? And Madam Speaker, it is even embarrassing, and I'm sure, I'm glad we shared it, Bishop who spoke before me, that I was in a moral dilemma as we were moving out of here. And I went to get my bag in the lounge. And Bishop, together with Honorable Museo, told me, Honorable Millie, you are leaving us here. And I looked around me, I'm like, I very quickly thought, because the groups were already coming. There were very many. And I looked around me, I'm like, okay, so where do I take them? Everybody was walking up the stairs. They are in wheelchairs. Where do you take them? So even in our own budgeting, when we are building this parliament, when we are looking at exits, where do the persons with disability go? And our budgeting never takes that into account. And that is why I hope we are not pushed into a corner only in 2024, and then in 2025, we go back to our bad manners. Let every budgeting we do look like it's a budget of crisis, because then we think of Kenyans. Because sometimes, I don't know what leadership does to us. I'm writing my book, which I call Privileged. And it's misleading because my privilege is because God enabled me to go through some challenges in life. So that I'm privileged that when I'm in a position like this, I understand. My father was a member of the regional assembly. And so I was actually a child of the privileged. And whenever we had events like Madaraka Day or public holidays, I used to be taken in front when my father was alive. And my father died in November. And in December, when I went in front, I was chased and told to go and stand in the sun. And I was like, hey, you guys don't understand. I'm the daughter of Harrison Odhiambo. They told kwenda kabisa, and I was beaten and taken back. And that has taught me that even when I'm a leader, I don't need to feel good and flaws and show off to people. What for? These things are flimsy and they are here for a moment. And the lessons that have just happened here are things to teach us that these things are for a moment. Chair, I know because of my time is up, I'll just say, let's deal with the issue of corruption and let's put money for victims who have died during these demonstrations. Thank you, Chair. Thank you, Speaker.
Thank you. Member for Soy, Honorable David Kiplagat.
Okay, thank you, Madam Speaker. I rise to support, though reluctantly, the budget, the supplementary budget that has been laid, tabled, and being discussed in this House. I'm saying reluctantly so because as the representative of the people of Soy, initially when we were doing the budget, we had a lot of expectations. Part of the expectations is that within our area of jurisdiction, the main problem that we seem to be having is the last mile connectivity, which is still between 35 to 30% thereabout. And people are always on our necks. I'm talking on behalf of all the Uasin Gishu members of parliament, because they expect us that the issue of last mile connectivity should be addressed. And we were very happy when at least we were looking at light at the end of the tunnel. The allocation of 14.5 billion that had been allocated for every constituency. In fact, I was talking to Jelash the other day and telling him maybe because Langata is connected to 100%, we might talk behind the 10 so that he can be able to assist me the 50 million. I took mine to 100 million. But due to what happened, which we all regret, the finance bill was withdrawn, and the revenue raising measures by government was a bit curtailed, and that one has affected the last mile connectivity. I'm calling upon the Budget and Appropriation Committee and the Energy Committee to still relook at the issue of last mile connectivity so that we can sacrifice other projects, we can sacrifice on the recurrent expenditure, and we try as much as possible to raise the 14.5 billion, which it was actually something we could take home and we could be able to discuss. But for now, I know my problem of connectivity within Soy constituency will still stand, and I am hoping that given there will be another supplementary 2 before the end of this financial year, that is something it should be considered. I had even dared that the 10 million, the 10 billion, which I have been told it has also been affected, for the CDF could be transferred to last mile connectivity. For my case, I could be a very happy man. That's why I'm saying that I support, since the government has no otherwise because of what happened, but reluctantly so. Another thing that that we need to address. I know the young generation, the Gen Zs, are raising a lot of issues on wastage, a lot of issues on accountability, a lot of issues on transparency, which is very important. But because we are the fathers of our young people, that is the Generation Z, if you hear them out, the complaint is that it seems they don't have the information as to why we are doing this. Because it is very important that we sit down and we have a conversation with the young people so that they can understand, since independence, we have been accumulating a debt, and that debt now stands to over 11 trillion that we have to pay, and it forms as a first charge. And I was telling them that we are paying around 1.1 trillion per year. And if you have counties, which I believe also should be another discussion, and I'll bring a motion to this House to even discuss the legitimacy of Council of Governors, because I know they are suing the National Assembly left, right, and center, including wanting to disband CDF, which is achieving a lot of things on the ground. So we actually need to discuss, because as currently constituted, the Council of Governors has no legal bearing, is not within our laws, and given that it has no legal framework, then that organization should be disbanded so that they don't continue disturbing us within the corridors of our courts. Having said that, I think it is important that the Budget and Appropriation Committee and also the Treasury, and I'm very happy my chairman for PAC will be who is now the nominee for the CS Treasury. The next budget he will bring to this House, we shall focus more on development. I come from an agricultural constituency, and initially in the budget estimates, we had allocated AFC, that is the credit facilities to our farmers, around 1 billion. And because we are tightening the belt, that one now is gone. We had also allocated subsidy fertilizer. We had allocated 10 billion, although the requirement is around 15 billion. But because of that, now we have about 7.5 billion because of the other necessity of milk coolers, which is very important. So we are living in a physical space that is so small that when you try to fit the requirement of this country, it becomes very complicated. But now that we have Honorable Emilio Odhiambo having joined the government, I believe we should come back with a finance bill, which we can be able to adopt, so that at the end of the day, we support the government in having a balanced budget within the next 3 years, and we support, we raise enough revenue where we can be able to run our country. Otherwise, because of the physical space that is there, we remain with no any other option but to reluctantly support the supplementary budget. And I believe, and I haven't heard the chairman for budget on the issue of DORA, on the issue of CARA. I believe if we are tightening our belt, if we are reducing on CDF, if we are reducing on last mile connectivity, if we are reducing on subsidized fertilizer, if we are reducing, in fact, I was looking at the social media, there is a road that was awarded to Chinese in my area for the last, since 2018. It has not been completed, and now the people are very agitated, and because of this physical space, we might not have enough money to construct that road so that we can finish ongoing projects. So I believe in the next supplementary budget, let us focus to finish ongoing projects. Let us focus on those development projects that will bring impact to our people. And also, because we are reducing on every item, also the county allocation, I believe, should be reduced. And I propose that we need to amend the DORA, we need to amend the CARA so that we can reduce it by a further 25 billion. With those few remarks, I support the supplementary budget. Thank you.
Thank you. Honorable Member for Mombasa, Honorable Zamzam.
Asante sana Mheshimiwa Spika, na nimengojea kwa muda lakini umefika. Mheshimiwa Spika, kwanza niweze kutoa rambirambi zangu kwa familia ya wale waliopoteza wapendwa wao wakati wa maandamano, Mheshimiwa Spika. Na Mheshimiwa Spika, Kenya ni yetu sisi sote, na bila amani Kenya hakuwezi kuwa na maendeleo, Mheshimiwa Spika. Na licha ya kuwa watoto wetu walizungumza mambo mengi na yamesikizwa, mimi nawaomba watoto wetu waweze kutulia. Kama ninavyoona katika hii bajeti, mambo yao mengi yameangaliwa na mambo ambayo yalikuwa yanawasumbua mengi yametolewa, Mheshimiwa Spika. Mheshimiwa Spika, pia nachukua fursa hii kuweza kumpongeza ndugu yangu kipenzi, ndugu yangu tunayemwenzi Simba wa Pwani, ndugu yangu Hassan Ali Joho, kuwezwa kuweka katika ule msururu ambao utakuja kupigwa msasa hapa bungeni katika kiti cha waziri wa uchumi samawati na madini, Mheshimiwa Spika. Niweze kumpongeza pia kinara wangu wa chama kuweza kumkumbatia ndugu yetu na kuweza kumweka katika wale ambao wameteuliwa, Mheshimiwa Spika. Kwetu Mombasa tunasema ni furaha kubwa, na tunajua ni mchapakazi, na yale ambayo aliweza kufanya akiwa mbunge wa Kisauni, akiwa gavana wa Mombasa na akiwa naibu wa waziri, ataweza kuboresha uchumi samawati na madini katika Kenya na aweze kuinua uchumi wa Kenya, Mheshimiwa Spika. Na muombea Mungu mahali popote alipo, Mwenyezi Mungu amtangulie mbele, na naomba wabunge wenzangu akija hapa bungeni tuweze kumpa support, Mheshimiwa Spika. Mheshimiwa Spika, nirudi kwenye bajeti hii ambayo imekadiriwa. Niweze kushukuru sana kamati ya bajeti ambayo imeleta haya makadirio, ambayo kwa wakati ule tuliweza kutoa ile finance bill, Mheshimiwa Spika, ambayo ilikuwa na mambo mengi mazito mazito, Mheshimiwa Spika. Niweze kuwapongeza kwa upande wa elimu, Mheshimiwa Spika, wameweza kuongeza milioni 247 katika shule ya msingi. Hii itaweza kuwezesha watoto wasome, wakae darasani, manake tulikuwa tunaona hata watoto ile desk ya kuweza kukalia, Mheshimiwa Spika, watoto walikuwa wanakosa, wanaenda kwa wazazi ili wazazi waweze kutengeza madawati kuleta darasani, Mheshimiwa Spika. Lakini katika hii bajeti naona wameongezewa, na niweze kupongeza kamati ya bajeti kwa kazi nzuri ambayo wamefanya. Wameongeza pia katika shule ya sekondari, Mheshimiwa Spika, nimeona milioni 205 wameweza kuongezewa katika yale makadirio yalikuwa ya mwanzo, Mheshimiwa Spika, na sisi tunasema elimu ndio uti wa mgongo wa maendeleo ya taifa, Mheshimiwa Spika. Kwa hiyo watoto wetu wengi watabaki darasani. Mheshimiwa Spika, niweze pia kupongeza kamati hii kwa sababu katika zile TVET schools na vocational training schools pia wamewekea bajeti vijana. Kwa hiyo mimi nawaomba vijana kule nje ambao walikuwa hawana ujuzi, bajeti imewekwa kwenu, mara hii sauti zenu zimesikika na mmewekewa bajeti nzuri sana ambayo inaweza kuwasaidia, na mjitokeze muingie katika TVET na vocational trainings ili muweze kupata taaluma mbalimbali ambayo itawawezesha nyinyi kuja kupata ajira. Mheshimiwa Spika, nimeona pia katika blue economy ama uchumi samawati, kama mkazi wa Mombasa ambaye inatoka sehemu ambayo ina bahari, Mheshimiwa Spika, tumeongezewa milioni 400 kwa wale katika ile factory ya Liwatoni, Mheshimiwa Spika, ambayo ni wavuvi wa samaki, Mheshimiwa Spika, ili waweze kuijenga, kuimaliza kwa sababu ilikuwa imekwama. Mimi nataka kupongeza kamati ya bajeti kuweza kutukumbuka kama watu ambao wanatoka sehemu ambazo zina bahari ama uchumi samawati, Mheshimiwa Spika. Mheshimiwa Spika, pia nimeangalia pia katika REREC, wale ambao mambo ya stima kuingia katika mashinani kule. Tukiangalia sehemu pengine, kwa mfano, kuna sehemu ambazo ni sehemu za ukame, ni sehemu ambazo hazijafikiwa na maendeleo, Mheshimiwa Spika, kama kule ndani Garissa, Ganze, kule ndani, Mheshimiwa Spika, ikiwa hawa wameongezewa pesa za kuweza kufikisha huduma ya moto mpaka mashinani, Mheshimiwa Spika, mimi nachukua fursa hii kupongeza sana, ni kitu ambacho kitafanya maendeleo yafike mashinani, Mheshimiwa Spika. Mheshimiwa Spika, nimeangalia pia katika bajeti ya ofisi ya naibu wa rais, imepunguzwa, japokuwa sikuridhia ilivyopunguzwa, ni kidogo, imepunguzwa milioni 100 peke yake, Mheshimiwa Spika, wakati ambapo tuliona katika bajeti iliyopita kuwa milioni 600 iliwekwa katika kuweza kurekebisha tu nyumba, Mheshimiwa Spika, ambayo ilijengwa na takriban milioni 400. Kwa hiyo ningeweza kuomba hawa kamati ya bajeti waweze pia kuangalia, wakati huu hatutaki kuangalia marekebisho ya manyumba, kwa sababu Wakenya wanahangaika sana, Mheshimiwa Spika, na Wakenya wanataka kuangalia vitu vinavyopewa kipaumbele, ni vitu ambavyo vitaboresha uchumi, ni vitu ambavyo vinaweza kushika production industry, ile uchumi uweze kuinuka na ushuru uweze kupungua chini, Mheshimiwa Spika. Kwa hiyo katika hiyo pia naomba wazidi kupunguza, na naona pia katika agriculture, licha ya kuwa agriculture wameongezewa ili kuweza kuleta chakula na kila kitu, Mheshimiwa Spika, lakini pia milioni 100 imetolewa katika agriculture ambayo ilikuwa ni ya Nairobi River. Tunajua huo mto huo unapeleka maji, inaenda maji sehemu kubwa sana ambayo inafanywa mpaka irrigation na mambo mengi na kusafisha. Naona hii imetolewa kule, imewekwa katika ofisi ya naibu wa rais, Mheshimiwa Spika. Kwa hiyo mimi ningependa kuomba kamati husika waweze kuiregesha kule ili iweze kusaidia pale, ilikuwa na usaidizi mkubwa sana, Mheshimiwa Spika. Mheshimiwa Spika, nimeangalia pia wamefidia katika ile kitengo cha ardhi, wameweza kuongeza milioni 750, na mimi niweze kufurahi kwa sababu kuna wakazi wa Mombasa ambao walipoteza mashamba yao, wako katika wale ambao watakaoweza kufidiwa na wale wa kutoka Taita Taveta ambao ni pwani, Mheshimiwa Spika. Kwa hiyo naona pesa zimeingia sehemu husika, na ndio maana mimi nataka kuambia hawa watoto wetu wa Gen Z wamefanya kazi nzuri sana, wameamsha ili bunge, wameamsha bongo za waheshimiwa, wameamsha mabongo sasa yanafanya kazi, yanaweka pesa sehemu ambazo zinakusudiwa, Mheshimiwa Spika, na mimi nataka kuwapongeza sana tena sana. Ule mwamko ulikuwa mzuri, isipokuwa wabaya waliingia ndani, lakini mpaka sasa kama wabunge tumepata funzo, na bunge hili naona limeamka na limeimarika, Mheshimiwa Spika. Mheshimiwa Spika, nimeona pia walimu wetu ambao ni wa shule wa JSS, hizi shule ambazo za juzi ambazo walikuwa hawana mishahara, Mheshimiwa Spika, wameweza pia kuwekewa bajeti yao na imeongezwa. Kwa hiyo mimi nataka nipongeze, kwa sababu hawa walimu wengi walikuwa wamejitolelea kufunza tu, Mheshimiwa Spika, walikuwa hawana mshahara, Mheshimiwa Spika, na wengi walikuwa wakitufuata sisi kama wabunge wakilia wakisema, Mama Zamzam, tukimbilieni kule bungeni, muhakikishe kuwa na sisi pia tunapata mshahara, tunapata pesa ambazo zinaweza kutusaidia kujimudu kiafya na tukiweza kuangalia watoto wetu wakisoma, Mheshimiwa Spika. Kwa hiyo hili la kuwapa hawa walimu wa junior secondary school mshahara, Mheshimiwa Spika, mimi nafurahi sana tena sana, manake limetoa mzigo mkubwa katika mgongo wa wananchi, Mheshimiwa Spika. Ilikuwa wazazi wakati mwingine wanachanga ili kuweza kuangalia wale walimu wa JCC, lakini sasa wamepata mgao wao na mambo yataenda shwari, Mheshimiwa Spika. Mheshimiwa Spika, ninaangalia katika hospitali kuu ya Kenyatta, Mheshimiwa Spika, matibabu katika sekta ya kansa, Mheshimiwa Spika, yamepunguzwa mgao wao, Mheshimiwa Spika. Na Mheshimiwa Spika, mimi nataka niwaambie wanakamati hapa, msingepagusa kabisa, kwa sababu wananchi wengi wanahangaika na kansa haichagui tajiri wala maskini, Mheshimiwa Spika. Kwa hiyo mimi napenda kuambia ule mgao ambao ulikuwa unaenda kwa hawa kule hospitali ya Kenyatta Hospital kwa matibabu ya kansa waweze kuregesha, kwa sababu ni mgao muhimu sana, Mheshimiwa Spika. Hakuna kitu kizuri kama afya. Mengi wamefanya vizuri, na hii supplementary budget, Mheshimiwa Spika, mimi naisupport sana tena sana, lakini naomba mahali kwa matibabu na mahali ambapo pengine kama ofisi ya naibu wa rais, Mheshimiwa Spika, malimbikizo yalikuwa ni mengi sana, wazidi kupunguza pale Mheshimiwa Spika, kwa sababu pesa nyingi pale zilikuwa hazieleweki zaenda kufanya kazi gani. Kwa hiyo wamepunguza 100, mimi nawaomba wazidi kupunguza zaidi. Lakini yote 9, 10, Mheshimiwa Spika, mimi nawapongeza na naomba Kenya tuwe na amani, tuache vita. Hakuna linalowezekana kufanyika kama Kenya iko kama vile Sudani ama mataifa ambayo yanapigana. Tunataka amani katika taifa letu ili tuweze kurekebisha tukiwa katika jumba hili na turekebishe tukiwa na amani. Asante.
The Honorable Dr. James Wambura Nyikal, the MP for Seme.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, for giving me the opportunity to contribute to this debate. Mr. Speaker, this supplementary budget, we describe it as unique, we describe it as unprecedented, but what actually it is just a revision of the 2024-25 budget because the finance bill didn't go through. And Mr. Speaker, matters have even been made worse by the loss of revenue due to the ongoing unrest, which we hope may be addressed soon. The budget itself is actually realistic in the circumstances. It looks at areas of need that are critical and address those. It looked at areas where we can wait, like areas of construction, and monies have been removed from those. Mr. Speaker, the real question is, how did we get into a situation where our own children went to the street, agreed to be killed, and many of them have died, and all of us support them. All of us start by saying the Gen Zs are right, the Gen Zs are right, the Gen Zs have shown the way, the Gen Zs. How did we get to that situation? Mr. Speaker, all this is a culmination of the errors of omission, the errors of commission that we have committed in the past, in areas of governance, in areas of our politics, in areas of service delivery. Look at education. Up to now, the university students who are reporting in September do not know what their fees are. Look at health. The shift that we are going on, all those laws have actually been declared unconstitutional or improperly passed by the courts. And therefore, all the services that were dependent of NHIF have actually suspended. The police, insurance, the civil servants insurance, all these are issues that didn't come suddenly. The issues of corruption, the issues of excessive show of opulence, the issues of biased recruitment, all these are actually what have culminated in this. Mr. Speaker, some of it is due to expectations that we did not meet. And some of these expectations, we actually raised them ourselves. We raised expectations that we have not been able to meet. Mr. Speaker, in my view, as we discuss this, what we need to realize is from now on, we have to change our way of doing things. Let the interests of the people be our guiding principle. Mr. Speaker, this finance bill that actually could not go through, we knew from the beginning the people did not want it. Public participation everywhere indicated withdraw that bill. All people that actually looked at this, professional organizations, church organizations, we just didn't listen. So, Mr. Speaker, we have a situation where over the years, recently, probably have become worse, we do not attend to the needs of the people. The very sensitive areas, the most critical areas of people's lives. Look at the cost of living, the issue of fuel, the issue of housing levy. All these are things that actually the people have expressed their concern that they were hurting us. We did not take heed. Mr. Speaker, as a parliament, we represent the people. We have a duty to oversight the executive. And the people expect that the representatives they elected will protect them should we have an executive that has gone rogue or an executive that has have excesses. And Mr. Speaker, as a parliament, we did not do that. As we discuss this, Mr. Speaker, we must start to listen to the people. We must start, as a matter of urgency, Mr. Speaker, to rebuild the confidence of the people in this parliament. We are going to have vetting to do. We must really go out and listen, because the problems are not solved yet. The Gen Zs are still out there. We appeal to them, and we should. But the most important thing, it is them who are appealing to us to change our ways. The only way we can appeal to the Gen Zs is actually respond to them by changing our ways and listening to them. That is really what we need to do. Mr. Speaker, I don't think we have to think much about this. If you have been shown the way, let's follow the way. My concern, I repeat, Mr. Speaker, as I sit down, how do we start to build the confidence of the people of Kenya in this house, in parliament? If we do not do that, the people will always come out to express themselves, and it will not be always in ways that are acceptable, that are safe, that are peaceful, but they will express themselves. We must realize that in the presidential system, this house in totally oversights the executive. And therefore, it should not matter which side we are in. If something is not good for the people, it's not good for the people, and the people's expectation that this house will stop such things. With that, Mr. Speaker, I support this first supplementary, which, as I said, is basically a revision of the 24-25 budget. I support.
Honorable Alice Nganga, MP for Thika Town.
Thank you.
And members, I want to take a bit of time on our female MPs for good reasons.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I rise also to support Supplementary Budget 1 of 2024-2025 because though it came early, Mr. Speaker, because of the austerity measures that we are undertaking after we dropped the finance bill, Mr. Speaker, I know there are so many cuts in this budget, but we have to live with it because that is how things are. And we have to live in our means. Mr. Speaker, I know our roads are in a very pathetic situation, but from this budget, we have seen that we have reduced 14 billion for roads, meant for roads. And what I can tell the Ministry of Roads and Transport is to look at the critical, after the floods that we had 2 months ago, to look at critical roads that need to be repaired because we are not starting new projects because we don't have enough money for new projects. New projects means even going outside there to borrow, and we don't even have means even to repay the debts that we have. But out of this budget, what made me happy is the JSS interns. They are going to be employed. That one is a win for them because there were many 46,000 in number across the country. And I can say, at least that one looks good for them, because they were really looking forward to be employed. And after the drop of the finance bill, there was a possibility that they were not going to be absorbed by the government. But looking at these estimates, I've seen they have been factored in. I know before we dropped the finance bill, we had talked about the sanitary towels, where we had said that they were going to be manufactured locally, but going forward, before the austerity measures were taken, at least they were going to be manufactured in Kenya, offering a lot of employment for our young men and women. And at least we were supposed to be buying from Kenya, and we are going to build our economy. But looking at things the way they are, I can say at least we have a shortfall when it comes to our sanitary towels for our children, which is a very important issue for our young girls at school, both primary and secondary school. But because things are looking this way, and their budget has not been reduced from 940 million Kenya shillings for buying for them the sanitary towels. Another thing that was in the finance bill that was dropped, and it is not in these supplementary estimates, it is because we are going to have connectivity across the country, where every constituency was to receive 50 million Kenya shillings to put power where they have never seen power since independent. But going with these estimates, that one has been reduced. Also, what has made me happy today is the feeding program for our vulnerable children in the arid areas. I'm happy for them. Without food, children cannot concentrate in school. Once they are given this money, at least they will be going to school looking forward, they are going to be fed. And me, I'm a champion for children. I like when children are given their privilege at whatever stage of their lives. They are the next leaders of this nation, as well as they will be the core component of our nation. So we need to take care of them at their small ages and small years, in their small years. Honorable Honorable Speaker, what I would want to say today is we have seen, and